All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Manic podcast. I'm going to be doing another solo one today. Unfortunately, my guest had to call out. Something happened. He had to, Dave, my cousin, he had to pull out. Something, I guess, came up, and you know what? We roll with it. We roll with it here. We got to do what we got to do, and a solo podcast isn't the end of the world because it gives me another chance to talk to you guys, and you get to know me a little bit better than just the interviewer of a podcast. Dude, last night was one hell of a night. I had my family's foundation, a charity foundation named after my grandfather. It's called the Henry Snyder Foundation. They support veterans and all that stuff, and it's such a fun event. We went out yesterday. We went golfing 18 holes. There was a couple NFL guys there. Did you know who Sam Huff is?
No, I do not.
Okay, Sam Huff is one of the great, he's the almost LT level linebackers from the Giants. He's much earlier than Lawrence Taylor. He's probably in his 80s now, man. It's crazy.
Whoa, okay.
His son showed up to the foundation. This man was a fucking giant. He was a linebacker. His son was a linebacker for the Redskins as well as a long snapper. Dude, I'm telling you, easily 6'8", fucking 290 pounds, 300 plus pounds as a adult, elderly adult male. Maybe not elderly, maybe he was in his 50s, but this is a giant man. So the foundation is cool because all of the proceedings go to a charity. This year we went to something called Vet Rest. Vet Rest is I'm not too familiar with their charity. I think their whole thing was the guy gave a speech at the outing. It was about helping veterans get jobs that'll help them be better in society, because if you guys didn't watch the last podcast, or not the last podcast, but the one with the Marines, the founder of another charity called Meduce Deuce his whole thing is about the 22. 22 stands for how many veterans take their lives per day. I think that's what the number is, or that's what it means. I'm 99% sure on that. And he was talking about that, and the Vet Rest guy was saying we need to stop this because there's a crisis and they're definitely not getting enough help. So with their charity, they help people. I think he was saying that getting land for people in farm work, because I guess America is going through a bit of a crisis with farming, and nobody wants to do it. Fuck, I'm not doing that shit. And I live in an area where there's a lot of fucking farming. There's no way in fucking hell I'm doing that kind of stuff. That's hard, bro. That's not just work. That is the hardest work imaginable. I could not imagine going out there for 12 hours, waking up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and shoveling pig shit or something. Bro, yeah. That's hard. So what they do is they take those veterans, and at least the example he gave, he took a veteran, they put him on a farm, they help him out, and hopefully that raises another generation of farmers and helps out the crisis, because we need farmers because we're eating shit still. All the food and stuff we're getting isn't what we should be eating. There's definitely pesticides and stuff, and I'm sure that there are farmers. I mean, they obviously have farmers that use pesticides and such that we're eating, but we need to go back to something where we're not eating just chemicals, because it's so bad, man. It's so bad for you. Like I said before, I live in an area where it's a lot of farming, and they have a lot of areas where you can go to local farms and you can buy some of their produce and stuff, and it's 10 times better. The taste is just so shocking when you have it and you go to your local supermarket. Compare that to a regular farm. It's incredible how obviously it goes bad faster, though. That's the biggest issue that you have without pesticides or preservatives and stuff like that, is there's no way of really making it so it doesn't spoil. So when you go to the farm and you're spending a shit ton more money because it's really grown and it's where it's coming from, the price is just 10 times more, and it goes bad 10 times faster. So, like I said, I got a little off track, but that's what Vet Rest, that's what we sponsored this year for the Henry Snyder Foundation. A little bit about my grandfather, who it's named after. He was in the Navy during, I think, Vietnam, and the guy was a beast. He used to tell me stories about being on a boat, and the waves would make the ship go 90 degrees from a wave, and I to get my head around that, I went on a cruise with Steph, and we went through like a little bit of a hurricane. So like the boat was rocking a little back and forth. It was a little uncomfortable, and I was like ready to cry, curl up into a ball and just cry, man. That is one of the scariest things. I'm telling you, when you have no land around you, no land in sight, and the boat is rocking so much that when you go up to like the dance party on the captain's deck or the captain's whatever, the chairs were moving from side to side, like falling. And the people who worked on the boat were fine. They were just like, yeah, this is just another day. But while I'm falling on the floor, like trying so hard to stand up and keep my balance, it's just crazy to hear from somebody who said the waves were 90, like making the boat go 90 degrees, and the boat was fine. Now, I don't know how true that was. I hope it was very true. But you know how people, as they get older, you know, they stretch the truth a little bit to make it sound cool, or maybe they remembered it wrong. But I wouldn't doubt it. My grandpa was a straight shooter when it comes to that kind of stuff. He was old school as hell when it comes to work. You work, you make your money, you raise a family, all that stuff. But he always made sure, he worked a lot. He loved what he did. He was actually one of the first, not first, but he was a very recognized programming kind of guy. Like, he dealt with that kind of stuff. And he worked until he died, basically. But not because he had to. He retired, and he just was like, I'm bored, I want to work. That's the kind of man he was. Very hardworking, loved what he did, didn't regret any kind of military service, and I'll get to that in a second. But he was very hardworking, very straightforward. But like just imagine your classic grandfather. You know, none of that like bullshit you hear about nowadays where you're slacking off. He was family first, you know, work second, and try to enjoy life as much as you can. Now, about regretting the military, the only reason I mention that is I'm a hardcore supporter of the military. I will always say that no matter what. I'll always try to give back as much as I can to the military. But when he passed, the reason why he passed was, remember those commercials when you were a kid, mesothelioma? If you were a loved one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he actually had that. He had the classic commercial disease that everybody hears about. And the way he got that was from the military. He was somebody who went into the ship's, I don't really know another way to say it. I don't know if you could say like the bowels of the ship. But imagine like just big enough for a person. And you had to walk in there and clean it out, I think. And it was like where the fire came from or some shit. Like something really dangerous, because if they locked you in by accident, they would close the hatch, which you went pretty deep into the boat, into like that little hole that I was talking about. If they closed that, you would like burn and die. One of the things that were in the bowels of the ship was asbestos. Asbestos was used on those ships, even though they knew in like the 30s that asbestos kills their soldiers. They knew that. They knew everything about it. They knew that it was bad, but the government decided, hey, we'd like to save money. We don't give a flying fuck about you, which is I'm still a little upset about it today, that the American government allowed that to happen. But, you know, American government's got all, you know, not every government has its bright spots. And they got the dark spots. But, yeah, he actually contracted, or he got mesothelioma from his time in the military. And that's one of the things that is big in the lawsuits of mesothelioma, is the fact that they didn't care. They said, fuck it, go ahead, deal with the asbestos. And when you're older, we don't really care. And the big kick in the fucking balls is that I live next to an area where I believe the man who like first, not created, but used asbestos is like 10 minutes away from me. I think it was Manville. Manville is, I believe, where the asbestos industry started. Asbestos in Manville was so bad in the factories. I believe it's Manville. I would love if you could look that up. I believe it's Manville. I'm just gonna say that if it is Manville, and this is the place I'm thinking of, the asbestos was so bad that the factories would sometimes get, I guess, so like congested or whatever, that in the town it would look like snow, but in reality it was asbestos raining down. And I can not prove it, but I've heard from people who actually lived in that area, who when they were growing up, the man's like 60 years old now. He said, yeah, that's what it used to be. We used to see things that looked like snow, and you were just breathing in straight asbestos. And I'm surprised not more people. Well, actually, I think that's a lot where the lawsuits came from too. So Yeah, that's why when I asked him one day when he was diagnosed with mesothelioma, I asked him, "Hey, do you regret being in the Navy?" Man looked at me and said, "No." The strongest, sternest no. Like, bro, don't even fucking ask me that. I'm proud to have served my country. At the end of the day, he was one of those guys. At the end of the day, I'm going to die anyway.
And we're back.
Thank God. All right, technical difficulties, but we're finally back in action. Dude, I can't stand some tech people because they give you a computer and I say, listen, my computer's fucked up. It doesn't work. It doesn't turn on. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. And they said, all right, here, we'll take it. Gave me a new SSD drive or what SSD thing. I think it's a drive. I don't fucking know. I paid money for it, though. He put it in, all that stuff, and said, hey, you're good to go. I said, all right, fine. The man didn't test shit. There is no way this guy tested anything. This computer shuts off constantly. And, of course, while we're streaming, it shuts off. So I apologize for the interruption. No one's fault here except the fucking tech guy.
We persevere here at the Manic Mind podcast.
We persevere. No matter what, we're not stopping this episode until I have milked every drop of what I have in my mind.
We are a runaway train of content here.
So yeah, like I said, my grandfather looked at me, didn't give, I completely don't regret what I did because it was just something I thought was right to do, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's a little bit about my grandfather. Badass man, miss him to death. Looking down. So about the outing yesterday. 18 holes, going well. I start drinking at about 12, 12, like noon. I almost said noon o'clock. That's a good one right there. That's how you know.
Love noon o'clock.
That's how you know my brain is just not working right now. Dude, you ever drink so much that like for the next few days you just can't talk? Like your brain is just like hard, like spazzing out.
Yeah, I find I'm in a constant state of battling through that.
A constant state of just alcohol poisoning, because it's poison. Alcohol is just straight poison. We as humans found something that was fun to drink, and like it just happened to be poison. We were like, yeah, this is fucking dope. I mean, it's gonna kill us.
There's carcinogens in it.
Yeah, if we're gonna drink it, we're gonna drink like this. We know it'll kill us if we overdrink it, but if we drink the right amount, we could get fucked up.
And it will kill you if you are a seasoned alcoholic and you stop cold turkey. It'll also kill you if you don't drink it.
Isn't that fucking wild? All the drugs that we take as humans, like all the drugs that humans have done and still do and are addicted to and all that stuff, the only drug that will kill you if you cut cold turkey is alcohol. That is wild to me, is that alcohol is the one that's legal, and if you cut it, you'll just die if you're an alcoholic. It's fucking wild, man.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Friday for those who might be watching it on a different day. When I get back home, I mean, I'm gonna go out with the boys and we're gonna watch the basketball game.
Oh, I'm definitely going out. Like, I mean, I got trash like I said, I'm not an alcoholic. I like to have a good time. How many times have somebody said that?
Put that on a poster. Put that on a poster.
I'm not an alcoholic. I just like to have a good time. That's a quote right there. You could quote that shit.
Yeah.
But it's so bad, but it's so good. And I've had this conversation with Dave, who was supposed to be on today. Why is it that everything that is so good, so bad for you? It's so fucked, man. Like junk food, horrible for you. Absolutely terrible for you. There's like no benefit of junk food except feeling good. Alcohol makes you feel good, hurts you, but then the next day it makes you feel like shit. Even fun things like skydiving, like you're gonna die if something doesn't open up. Like it seems like the riskiest things and the most delicious things and the things that seem so like maybe it's because society as we've grown has just tried to make things more comfortable, so we've put comfortability on a pedestal.
Well, so that goes back to the biblical the forbidden fruit, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah. There's some pretty good metaphors in the Bible. I mean, I'm not the most religious guy out there, but the Bible has some cool stories for reflection.
Bro, you want to hear one of my favorite stories from the Bible? So I went to Catholic school, right? I went to Bergen Catholic. It's in Oradell, New Jersey. And listen, I love my time. I actually went to Bergen Catholic and Immaculata in Somerville. I left Bergen because I used to drive an hour and a half to school every day, and that just didn't work out for me. There's no way that was gonna do well for my my brain. So I went to Bergen. They made us study the Bible. They made us read the Bible. And one of my favorite stories that was actually summarized by South Park is the Book of Job. You ever hear about the Book of Job?
Refresher.
So basically, God made in a nutshell, and people might get really mad about this explanation I'm about to say, but basically, God made the devil comes up and he sees this man named Job praising God for his family, praising God for his crops, praising God for basically everything he has in life. And the devil's like, the only reason he likes you is because you give him everything. And then God's like, I bet. And then he goes, kill all his livestock. Job still prayed. He was like, all right, thank you, God, whatever. You've given me everything. And the devil's like, that ain't enough. And he's like, all right, bet. Then God kills the crops. All right. And then the devil goes, all right, well, it's because he still has his family. God goes, I bet. Kills his fucking family. Like, I think like a barn killed his family. Like they crushed him or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Old Testament probably.
Probably Old Testament.
Old Testament God is a savage.
Oh, Old Testament God gives no fucks. Old Testament God is there to fuck. So like he crushes the family, right? I believe he crushed it. And then the devil is like, that ain't enough. And then God's like, all right, bitch, bet. And he goes, all right. And then he gives like Job a horrible skin disease. And Job, being a beast, said, thank you, God, for everything you've given me. And the devil was just like, fuck, dude, you got me. And God's like, yeah.
The devil got God.
The devil got God.
Perseverance, another staple.
So basically, Job was just the victim of a bet that there was no stakes. There was no like, you give me $20 if I'm right. It was just kind of like, hey, fuck that guy, right? And he's like, nah. I just wanted to see if he liked me. But he's like, low key, fuck that guy. Like maybe Job was just like pissing God off somehow by being so happy. Like you ever meet those people who are just too happy? That you just hate.
Yes, yeah.
And there's no reason to hate them. They're like nice. They're genuinely nice people, but you just don't like them because they're too nice.
Well, there's definitely a little something off there. If you consistently see this person, and every single time it's pouring rain outside, and they're the same exact mentality, mind state. They're coming out shot out of a cannon. It is a little alarming.
Maybe they're doing some of those drugs I talked about.
Yeah, maybe they're, yeah.
Yeah, but even them, like even the people who do drugs and are happy all the time, they're not that kind of happy. There are just some people who are just overly energetic and overly happy. And it's like, damn, bitch, would you just fucking be sad and depressed like the rest of us?
Yeah,
it's
there's certainly a level of jealousy there.
Of course there's jealousy. I want to be happy all the time. This shit sucks. I don't want to be depressed.
But it's a natural ebb and flow.
Isn't it crazy as we've gotten older, you start to see like, I feel like I don't hear this from other generations, but I feel like everybody in our age group is depressed. Like everyone.
I think it has a lot to do with the evolution of mental health awareness too. And whereas like people back in the day were depressed but they were told to just figure it out,
suck it up,
by
bitch.
Yourself, not with help.
Basically suck it up.
And I think
bitch.
now people are more willing to get help and to seek the help that they need. And
that's good. That's a good thing. That definitely is a good thing. I also believe that one of the things that contributes to depression now is the high expectations we all have. I feel like as time goes on, the expectations of a regular ass person who has no special, because not everybody has special qualities. There are regular fucking schmucks out there. And no matter what, they have the expectations of somebody who's just like a stud at everything. You have to go to college. You got to get a good job that's like 6 figures. No, but like I said before, farming isn't a big thing because farming's not glamorous. Nobody wants to be a farmer.
Yeah, and I think a lot to do with it is that thing that's in front of you is social media. I feel like the expectations are higher because you're seeing these people that are portraying their life in such a unrealistic way.
Oh, yeah, definitely. How many people do you see on and the thing about social media is 99.9% of these fucks aren't living the lives that they're saying they're living at all. There's no shot in hell that they're doing that. And that is something with this podcast. You will never hear me doing like fucking, I'll do a tour of my house one day, but you're not going to see me go, yeah, I do this every single day, because I don't, dude. I live a regular person's life, and most of these influencers do. or they're like Jake Paul and Logan Paul and just total fucking dicks.
Yeah, I think it largely, not to blame it on a couple of people, but I feel like a lot of it has to do with the Kardashian clan.
Oh my God, don't even fucking get me started.
And people having unrealistic body expectations for themselves. Like, I'm not talking about us, but I'm talking about like girls, like little girls, like 15-year-old girls. Like, they see Chloe or fucking Kylie post this picture where that they face tuned and their body is like,
oh yeah,
like the proportions of their body like don't even
makes no sense.
Feasible, humane sense. And
I don't understand that, man. I don't understand how people think the Kardashians are like good human beings. Listen, I wouldn't say that they're. It's so hard to say. I don't want to. Like, I feel like getting into this is so rough. Steph loves watching me Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
I'm sure it's I mean, it's popular for a reason. I'm sure.
Oh, of course. I've watched a few episodes because it's on in my house. I mean, I live with Steph, so I fucking watch it from now and then, and it's entertaining. But it's entertaining because you just look at these people's lives, and it makes no sense. But people don't realize that her father was how they made money at first. Her father was Robert Kardashian, I believe that was his first name.
Yes.
And he defended O.J. Simpson, and he made a fuck ton of money. So
he was very close friends with O.J. Simpson.
Yeah. And did you ever hear about when he was years later after the trial, he kind of said yeah, he definitely killed that chick?
Well, yeah, he ended up leaving the defense because he realized that this is ridiculous. And then they brought on Johnny Cochran.
Yep.
And I just actually shout out the 30 for 30 OJ Made in America 5-part doc.
Didn't he say he killed her? Didn't he just go out and say yo, if I did kill this bitch?
Well, he came out with a book that said if I did it, but the F in if is comically small, so it says I did it, OJ Simpson, and then you pick up the book and you realize that there's a little F. I don't know, because people don't like giving OJ publicity because he's a double murderer. But
that is so fucked to think.
We are back.
All right, thank you God.
Third time.
All right, hopefully this just holds up. My rage for this tech man is just so high right now. All right, we're not even going to get into that right now. We're going to keep talking about, because I had a good train going on right there about the O.J. Simpson thing. We knew this man killed people. There is no doubt in, I think, anybody's mind that he killed two people. He definitely killed two people. There's no real evidence to say he did.
Well, yeah. I mean, his case was the first time that they've ever used DNA as in the courts ever. So they had to explain what DNA was to the jury before they were there's DNA evidence at the crime. It's in the car. But it was actually funny because yesterday the 17th of June was the anniversary of the chase, the Bronco chase. I'm a massive Knicks fan for the viewers. They've been terrible for almost my entire life. The Knicks were in the finals that year, and they kept cutting away because O.J. Simpson double murdered two people and was on a chase. If that happened today, I would be so angry that all the coverage was away from the Knicks and on the OJ. I'd be like, that selfish bastard.
That selfish bastard chose today to fuck with us. You know his car sold? That Bronco sold for money?
Yeah, I saw that on an episode of Pawn Stars.
Yeah, it sold for what, $1 million or something like that?
I can find that.
That's actually crazy to think about. Is that a car from a murderer? Why did I say it like that? From a murderer sold for that much money. Americans love crazy shit. Not even Americans, people in general. I've said this before to friends and family multiple times because I feel like they don't understand what I'm trying to say. I write. I love writing. I'd love to finish this book that I'm writing. It's about an artist. I won't get too into it because it's not a finished product. But I've written stories before, and one of the stories that I wrote about, don't judge me on this because I like writing dark stuff. It was about a mom who got into a car accident, holding her child on the side of the road, and cops are trying to come up to her, and they're trying to get the kid away to check on the baby to make sure that it's not too injured. The mom's freaking out, telling them get away. And the end of the story is basically a cop goes up, gets a little too close or closer to the mother, and the mother was kind of letting her in, and the mother had a panic attack and told him to get the fuck away. But the cop comes back to the other police and face white and says, or they go, what the fuck happened? What's wrong with the kid? And he kind of mumbles, she's holding it together. And the idea is that the baby's head was fucking decapitated and she's holding the baby's head together with the body. And it's a fuck story. The reason why it's a fuck story is because I think too into things a lot. And I said that when something so traumatic happens, you just have this like loss of reality. When something that damaging happens, it doesn't seem real. How many times in your life has something happened that doesn't feel real, but it is? Like when a family member dies, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't really hit you that you'll never see that family member again in this life. It's a crazy feeling, and that's what I tried tapping into. So I've said this before, back to the OJ thing, like I said, people like seeing train wrecks. How many times are you driving on the highway and you see a car accident, right? And a really bad one, and you kind of like rubberneck a little bit. You're just like looking over at the body or you're looking over at the car. It's because we're attracted to just craziness. And that has to do with the Jake Paul and the Logan Paul fight. People like a circus. People like the out of the norm things that don't seem real. And that's why O.J. Simpson's car sold for that much money.
$750,000.
Fucking Christ.
The most expensive Ford Bronco, obviously, ever
Dude,
sold.
Ford Broncos are kind of clean.
They are kind of
I
dope,
kind of
honestly.
want a Ford Bronco. Do you see they brought them back?
No, I did not.
Yeah, they did. I don't know if they still have them back, but they brought them back for a short time, I believe. And those things are cool. The only reason I want one is because they were it was an American Pie movie. It had like seats in the back, I guess, by the trunk maybe or something. It looked cool as shit. Like I loved it. I want it.
I feel like they are synonymous at this point with O.J. Simpson, though.
Yeah,
for better or for worse.
Yeah, that. I guess that is a big issue that we could talk about. Is that O.J. Simpson did ruin an entire car? Is that why they stopped selling them, you think?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Like we don't want our car to be associated with a double murderer who got it. And the fucked up thing is people still defend OJ. You know that, right? There are people who say, well, he got off. Okay, then explain how this man's not an aggressive person when like 10 years later he robs, what was it, a hotel for his memorabilia?
His own memorabilia in Vegas, yeah.
Fucking crazy person. This man's a crazy person. And I see have you ever seen his videos on Twitter where he talks about sports?
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge fan of his Twitter presence.
So
just because
funny.
He's so detached, and he thinks he's the guy on CBS or NBC Sunday Night Football in 1994, or 3, but he's not. He's not the Naked Gun anymore. He is.
Dude, it's like I said, people like train wrecks, and that man's a fucking train wreck.
So Ford discontinued the Bronco after the 1996 model year, replacing it with the Expedition, and I haven't figured out why, but 96 is right up. It's like 18 months after.
Oh, it is 18 months after.
Yeah,
So
it's, the timeline certainly points to that.
choking on water, don't mind me.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, but of course, what? Did it crash?
No.
Oh my
no.
God, I just had a panic attack again. I was like, there's no way this is happening a fourth time. All right, speaking of some spectacles going on, are you going to watch the Conor versus Poirier fight?
Yeah. When is that?
That's July 10th.
Right around the corner. We got to do a nice
Well, bro,
segment on that when it happens.
when it does happen, yeah. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, because I am excited to go. I'm actually going on a trip with a few friends to the Poconos. Don't take that as unfortunate. It just sucks because I can't be here with my dad. Me and my dad always watch Conor fight, so I'm actually excited about this. But I did tell them when the Conor fight's on, I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan. I love Conor, so when the fight is on, we're watching that all day. I don't care what happens. We're watching that card. That fight is going to be phenomenal. Conor, if he comes back hungry, I thought he was going to beat Poirier in the fight. I really do. I think that if he checked the leg kicks, he would have fucked up Dustin. Because there were points in the fight where Dustin was getting fucking clipped. But Conor didn't check any leg kicks. Poirier took advantage of it. And Conor couldn't even, and this is the thing, people who don't watch fighting and they don't really notice, they're like, oh, he just got beaten stand up. He did get beaten stand up. But he got beaten stand up because Poirier was smart. Conor couldn't even walk on that leg after the fight. He was chopping that leg. And that's what Conor's got to watch out for. I think Conor could have easily won that fight if he just stopped the leg kick. And I think a lot of people who watch fighting have said that. And I've watched a lot of videos where they've said that that's what he should have done as well. But it's in the past. Shit happens. I think Conor is taking this third fight more serious than like at least I think 60 to 70% of his other fights. This is like up there with a championship fight because he knows if he loses this third time going around with Dustin, this could be very damaging to his reputation.
Yeah, he'd be 22-6 at that point.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, he's 22-6. I mean, that's not horrible.
With a lot of the losses coming in his previous 5 fights or whatever.
Yep, and Dustin's hungry. Dustin's one of the best in the division. If he beats Dustin, Conor's back. This is a do or die situation for Conor. If he wins, he's back. If he doesn't, well, maybe.
Do you think in the UFC, more than boxing, it's kind of like a moment thing? Like we saw how Ronda Rousey kind of seized the moment for however long her run was, 18 months, 2 years, however long it was. Like, do you think that the nature of the sport is to blame there? Or?
For what, making Conor popular?
No, for extended longevity of the greatness. Because I feel like, Floyd Mayweather has been fighting for like 20 years professionally. And
his first fight was like 96.
Yeah.
So like
24, I actually just saw a clip of that on YouTube.
Yeah, 24 years. It's crazy. I would say the longevity. Conor is different, and I'm not saying that as somebody who's a fan. Conor was different because Ronda Rousey was also one of my favorite fighters growing up. Not favorite. She was one of my, probably up there though. She was good at basically a couple things. She was one of the best judo people in the world. She competed at the Olympics. I don't know if she got gold, but she was a judo, phenomenal at judo. And also a beast jiu-jitsu person. Or, just submission grappling. I don't know if she does submission grappling or jiu-jitsu. But then other fighters in that division started to adapt really good striking, which Rousey wasn't the best at. She wasn't the greatest striker of all time. And then you get somebody like Amanda Nunes, who is just a monster. I don't think she'll ever be beaten. I really don't. I don't think Amanda Nunes will ever be beaten. She also lost to Holly Holm. Why am I saying it's because I drank last night. I can't say things properly. Holly Holm, she fought, and Holly Holm is one of the greatest stand-up for females. Whooped her ass. And it's just she got countered. I think there's a counter to every fighter. Like Conor's counter is somebody who's really, really, really good at ground and pound. Khabib's huge. If Conor fights Khabib again, he'll probably lose, but he'll have a better chance because if you watch the fight, he was scared of the takedown. So if you ever watch him, he's always kind of here waiting for Khabib to take him down. Khabib cracked Conor. Because Conor was ready for the takedown, but Khabib saw that and just smashed him. And that's every fighter has a counter unless you're George St. Pierre, who is good at fucking everything. Every fighter has something that they're not great at, or at least not obviously they're professionals, so they would beat the average Joe or probably even somebody very good. But there's always that one thing that a fighter isn't perfected at. And there's somebody else who is, and they take advantage of it. Conor can't really handle ground and pound too well against some. Well, that's not true because he fought I forget the wrestler he fought, but he actually did really well. He's good at stuffing the takedown. But if you're getting somebody like Khabib, you're fucked. Conor's legacy and that kind of stuff, like keeping that longevity for being relevant, is so different because he's the first person to shit talk in the UFC in that way. Shit talking has always been around, but Conor's way of talking is so precise and in the moment. He's one of those guys when you're talking, he'll have the insult ready like that, like just completely ready there. And it got people excited. His energy was there. He was hungry, man, in his early days of the UFC. And then he started to get money. And I think that's where he started to fall off, is that, the money started going to his head. And he started training a little less and not as hard. And you could see when he got more successful, the fights didn't end in the way that he wanted them to. He kind of started to get fucked up. But now... Conor can still manage this because Conor is one of the greatest strikers in UFC history. So if he can tap into that, he can be a champion again. I completely think that he'll be a champion. Difference between him and Ronda Rousey is that Conor is more of an upgraded fighter where he, in the early days of the UFC, a lot of grapplers were 10 times bigger than they are now. Grapplers aren't that big in the UFC anymore. They really aren't. A lot of it is stand up. Most people are getting knocked out now. You don't see too many submissions in cards, and I know some people are going to argue and say that, oh, there are, but most of the time people want to see stand up. And this is coming from somebody who loves jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. I love ground stuff. You just don't see it as much anymore because people want to see the stand up, head kicks, knees, all that stuff. And Conor's in that era right now. He's in a good era for his type of fighting.
Yeah, Ronda Rousey went 12-2 in 6 years, and also won a bronze medal in the 2008 Olympics in Beijing.
Exactly. So she was a legit judo person,
and 9 of her wins were by submission.
And that's what I mean. Back earlier in the UFC, maybe not too early. I mean, obviously, because the Gracies were around. So yeah, early in the UFC, up until maybe I think like the 2000s, early 2000s, submissions and not like being on the ground. How many times do you see a fighter on the ground now? They're on the ground for like 20 seconds, which is fucking nothing in jiu-jitsu. Well, I mean, it is, but I mean, it's more time to work. It's not time to get a submission right away. You hear people booing, and it's because they don't know what the fuck is happening. People say, oh, that was a shit fight. No, it's an amazing fight because you're seeing two professionals go at each other on the ground. It is so hard to fight somebody on the ground when you're like sweaty and stuff. Even if you're the greatest jiu-jitsu person around, you're fighting somebody who's sweaty. It's so hard to grab. You can't get submissions. And, I'm going off topic a little bit, but that's where I think that Rousey, as UFC started to progress, a lot of these fighters were pretty good on the ground, but they were phenomenal stand-up. Amanda Nunes, I think, is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but that's not what most people worry about. They worry about the fact that she's going to cave your face in. And, Rousey didn't have she didn't have that skill that would scare people into that. She didn't have that scare factor of, I'm going to break your teeth if you allow me to. No, people are expecting her to get close to you and throw you and do some cool judo throws. Conor's not like that. You know what you're getting with Conor. Conor's not trying to take you down. Conor's trying to stand up with you and stuff the takedown. Conor's good at stuffing the takedown. Obviously, against Khabib, that's not going to work because Khabib is probably the greatest wrestler and ground and pound guy in UFC history. But Conor's, stand up, I still think is the best in the UFC. I don't think there's a better stand up guy than Conor.
Yeah, out of his 22 wins, 19 of them were by knockout, which supports the pattern that you were introducing.
You know what I mean? It's all, you're just seeing more knockout fights. Like Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is a fucking knockout machine, bro. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, same thing. These guys go to war. Even Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is one of the best jiu-jitsu guys probably in the UFC. And you never really see him take people down. He goes for the knockout. He stands up. He's great at boxing, but he's probably better at jiu-jitsu, and he still doesn't go for it. He doesn't. You don't see a lot of ground stuff right now because it's...
Yeah, he actually had that Gaethje guy you just brought up, the same exact numbers as Conor, actually. Yep. 22 wins, 19 by knockout.
Yep, I'm telling you. You just see this. You see the pattern. And then with Nate Diaz, you just see these guys. You know why people do it? Is because the UFC, and I've heard this before, fighters don't really get paid a lot, right? Fighters get paid dick. It's not like boxing where you make a lot of money in MMA. MMA, you're making most of the time dick. If you're an undercard fighter, you're risking your life. You're putting your body on the line with probably some of the most savage people in the world, and you're getting dick. You're not getting as much as you think. And how many fights do you have in your career in the UFC? I mean, I'm not talking about like amateur and stuff like that. Conor didn't have 19 wins in the UFC. Conor probably has like 10 fights maybe in the UFC. And that's a longevity guy. What's the average time for somebody in the UFC? Maybe four or five fights that you really see them. I don't really know, but it's not that long. And how many times do you fight a year? Twice, 3 times a year if you're busy? It's the reason why stand-up is big is because you become popular. If you hit a sick knockout, if you do some crazy shit, like Sugar Sean O'Malley, if you do some crazy shit, people will be like, wow, that guy's kind of cool. Then your popularity will increase. It's kind of like the WWE. The more famous you get, the more money you're probably getting.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're getting that cool little extra cash, or you do a cool knockout of the night. I know there's submission of the night, I don't know how much that is. Maybe it's the same amount. Maybe it's 60 grand. I don't know if it's 60 or 50, but knockout of the night is 60 grand.
Yeah, from what I understand, the average income of all UFC fighters, the median, so this is everyone, is 138,000, and that is, I believe, per year. So,
yeah.
the median income for an MMA fighter in the UFC, it was 68,000 in 2018, but now 138, and it is largely, from what I understand, there's a big gap between the guys. Like Conor McGregor will make millions, but then like the guys under him.
So like what's the lowest paid? What's probably 40 grand, 30 grand, something like that. And this is what people don't understand is, okay, that's a lot of money a year, 130. That's six figures. How many times are you gonna fight? What's your job after that? What do you do after the UFC? Open a gym? How many times do you? That is such a flooded market.
So last year, more than 200 fighters, which makes up 36% of the UFC, made less than $45K, which is the average household income in the United States.
And you're only fighting how often? And what do you do after this? UFC needs to find a plan. And I think fighters should unionize. I'm not a big union person, but fighters should unionize. Somebody needs to be the voice. I don't know who. I know Conor, I think, tried doing that at one point. But someone needs to be like, listen, we're not going to be around forever. Even the greatest of the great are starting to go away. And we need to have enough money to support ourselves. Look at the NFL. And I get it because the NFL is huge. The UFC is nowhere near NFL size when it comes to company. But isn't it crazy to think that the lowest a rookie can be paid in the NFL is like $500K?
Yeah,
that's fucking wild. That's wild. And that's, I just cannot believe that. You hear about people holding out for contracts in the NFL as opposed to getting 10 mil, they want 15. All right.
Guys that get drafted in the first round will hold out for a contract that they haven't even put their cleats on and got onto the field.
They want that money, and I don't blame them, and I do not blame them because at the end of the day, you only have so much time in pro sports, so you need to make your fucking money. You need to make it and make sure that hopefully you never have to really work again because most of these guys put everything into their athletic careers. And I was an athlete at one point. I stopped playing football in high school because of so many injuries. I had offers from colleges, and I said no. And the reason why I said no, and sometimes I look back and I regret it, but I said no because of the injuries. Dude, I had shoulder surgery when I was 18, and I started to think I have two or three concussions, and I had shoulder surgery when I was 18, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm not even a quarter of the way done with my life probably. And I already have these kinds of injuries. There's no way I want to keep doing this. Like, that's a lot on your body. And I can't even fathom the type of injuries a professional mixed martial artist will get. And the same thing with mixed martial arts. I started to train at 19 years old. I was excited about it. I was going about my training in hopes of becoming a fighter. And then at a certain point, when I started to, really get into sparring and stuff like that, I was just like, I'm right back in the same situation I'm in again. Do I want to get hit in the head this often? Do I want to risk my body? And more power to the people who do, because it takes a special kind of person to go ahead and do that.
Well, it's like Alex Smith. He got drafted first overall. He played for about 12 years before that leg injury. He could have just called it quits after that. No one would have called
definitely.
him a bitch or anything. But he had to get 17 surgeries.
And he almost died.
He almost died. Almost lost his leg. He almost lost his life. And then he gets thrust back onto the field last year for Washington. And the fact that he even wanted to continue to play football is why he was drafted number 1 overall and why he got that good at football.
Oh, yeah. These guys have the biggest balls in the world. It doesn't make sense how they can just ignore.
Yeah, if you tell one of these guys you're going to die on the field playing professional football, they're going to be like, hell yeah, I was playing professional football.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, it's because coming from somebody who was trying, I had the biggest dreams, and anything I did, I always have the extreme version of that dream. When I played football to the point where I wanted to be in the NFL, and I was training nonstop. I went to really good gyms. I trained all year round. I played at some of the best schools in the country. Bergen Catholic, Immaculata not so much, but Bergen Catholic definitely is one of the best in the country. And coming from somebody who was living that lifestyle for a while, you give your... obviously, I didn't live it to what people were living in college, because college is the next level. Those motherfuckers have to go through so much as student athletes. I couldn't even imagine doing that from the stories that I've heard. But you give everything. You give mind, body, and soul to that fucking sport. You give anything up. You have to make... When they tell you to make sacrifices, I'm telling you, no girlfriend, no social life, always in the gym, always making sure you're better, because you're not playing with high school kids anymore. You're not even playing with the college kids anymore. You're playing with the top... I don't even know what the percentage is. I'm sure it's less than 1% in the world. Like, what, there are 32 teams and 60-man rosters. How many people is that compared to how many people play fucking football in high school and college? Mm-hmm. You are playing with the best of the best. You have to dedicate your entire life.
Now you said that, no girlfriend, no social life. I'm already halfway there. Honestly, should
I could be in the NFL right now.
I honestly should start training.
Yeah, bro,
Maybe
get in there.
Kicker, punter. I played soccer for like 15 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, you should have been a kicker.
Maybe not 15 years.
That seems like, I feel like that is
like 13.
That seems like the job to have. Like a Pat McAfee.
Yeah, I mean, you show up. I mean, but it's all on you sometimes. That's why.
Oh, the pressure would be so
that's
bad.
Why the punter may be a little bit better, because.
Oh yeah.
Usually, there's not a punt to win the game. There are in some scenarios where you need a good punt to pin them back on a crucial drive, but it's never like the clock is expiring and we need this.
Well, you said you're a Giants fan, right?
Oh, big time.
Do you remember the punt that I'm
to
going to
Deshaun Jackson? Is that what you're about to say? They could have just punted it out of bounds.
Yeah, that's a punter who fucked up everything. That's a punter who literally fucked. You know what was funny is that I was out. I know exactly where I was that play.
Me too.
I was out at a restaurant watching the game on a little TV, and my cousins were there. Dave, who was here yesterday, who was supposed to be on, and then his brother. His brother was a diehard Eagles fan. And I'm in his face gloating, and I'm like, you guys just got fucked. We win. All we have to do is literally kick it out of bounds. And the motherfucker hit it, and that man rubbed it in my face.
He drops the punt.
Oh my god!
We think the win's right there already.
It was. There's no way you watch that play from the beginning and say he's gonna take this to the house.
Coughlin probably never said a word to that punter again.
Coughlin probably beat him. Like he probably like a 1960s child. He took out the leather belt and just whooped his ass.
And the punter probably was just like ready for it. He probably wasn't even. He was like, yeah.
He was just in the back. He was just in the back, pants down, like ready to get ass whooped.
Did Weatherford? Was that?
No, that wasn't Weatherford.
It wasn't. I was about to say because Weatherford was a unit.
Weatherford was. Yeah.
That was one of the most yoked up kickers or punters
for no
in
reason.
Football.
He just wanted to be yoked. There's no reason for a punter to be that jacked. He just wanted to do it. You know who I really like? I like our kicker now, Gano.
Oh yeah,
I love Gano. I think he's a beast. I mean, he definitely missed a little bit last year. Like he missed a few kicks.
Well, he was insane. I think he had like a 92%.
Yeah. He had a streak going, but he missed I think 2. And I was so sad because I was bragging about how good he is. He's still obviously one of the best in the league, I think. But it was against I think the Cowboys, and we missed the extra point. And my girlfriend's father is a Cowboys fan, so that makes it even better.
Yeah, his percentage was 96.8 last year.
Fucking beast, dude. I was watching the Cowboys-Giants game with Steph, who's technically a Cowboys fan.
Ooh.
And her dad's a Cowboys fan. I was watching at their house. Do you know the stress that I had when the Giants fumbled that ball and what's his name scooped it up with his butt cheeks?
Oh, Wayne Gallman.
Wayne Gallman like literally picked it up with his ass cheeks. And
then Xavier McKinney had that pick. That game was
that game more anxiety in my life. Then
you wait around for the night window, Eagles football team, I should say, and all we need to do is Eagles win, Giants are in the playoffs, and then what happened, and Nate Sudfeld sees the field, and just an iconic fuck you to the Giants from the Eagles.
Did we deserve to be in the playoffs? No.
6 wins, no.
But did they throw that game on purpose? Yeah, definitely.
And 100%. Do I think that the Giants were the best team in the NFC East last year?
100%.
Also, yes.
I don't understand why people are saying that the
and that was without Saquon.
I don't understand how people are saying the football team is projected to be the best in our division.
They got Fitzpatrick.
When we have butt fucked them every year with Daniel Jones. I don't care what anybody said. Daniel Jones sucks. Okay, you lost to a quarterback who sucked like 4 times.
Yeah,
already.
he had the best game of his career down in Washington a couple of years ago.
It hasn't even been close. How many times we beat them?
I think he had. Here, I'll look it up. I think he had 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Saquon had 3 touchdowns.
If Saquon's healthy and our team stays healthy this year, Giants have a good chance of making the playoffs. Easily.
Oh, I mean, they went for it this year in free agency. They got Adoree Jackson. They got Kenny Galladay. They re-signed Leonard Williams. They're going for it. If they don't make the playoffs this year, a lot of people are going to be fired.
Well, this is the thing. If we don't make it to the playoffs this year, what I say is we try our best to find a veteran quarterback, keep him on, and then when the time comes, when Arch Manning starts to get up in the draft, we pick up the next Manning stud.
I have all the stock. If you're selling your Danny Dimes stock, I'm buying it. I'm buying it.
Oh, I'm not selling it at all.
Yeah. No, I got you.
I've got the Daniel Jones jersey. I've committed to the Jones.
I haven't gotten the jersey quite yet. I gotta make sure that he's gonna stick around first.
No. His first year, even after all that bullshit, I bought the Danny Dimes jersey. Oh, I did. I believe in Danny Dimes. I think that if we get a good line and our line holds up, which everyone's like, why didn't we draft a lineman? Asshole, we have rookies on our line. They're going to be
we drafted one number 4 overall last year.
And they're going to be second year guys this year. Everyone knows, well, at least I hope they know, being a lineman and starting your rookie year is if not the hardest position to start at. Being a lineman is so hard.
No, it 100%.
It is literally the heart of the team. If you have a shit line, you're not going anywhere.
Like I have this conversation with my friend all the time, and there's really nothing you can do because you get to the next level, and then you're like, okay, who's on the schedule this week? Oh, I have to block Myles Garrett, and then who's on
T.J. Watt?
Yeah, and then next week you have T.J. Watt, and then next week you have J.J. Watt, and then next week you have. Even the guys like
Chase Young.
Even Jadeveon Clowney, who's not even that good anymore.
Oh, yeah. You know what makes me happy is that the lineman coach was fired for the Giants. And I knew something was off.
Mark Colombo, yeah.
Yeah, I knew something was off because when he was hired...
he was a turnstile. We drafted a guy 4 overall, and Andrew Thomas was a turnstile for the first 8 weeks.
And even his college coach, I remember his college coach, Andrew Thomas's college coach was saying, what the fuck is happening and what is he doing? His technique is so shit now.
He's like getting beat inside.
Exactly. And then when they fired him and they brought on a guy who actually started to train him right, he's doing one of the best, I think, pass protections in the league or something.
I mean, it was far and away so much better.
And he makes Chase Young his bitch in college. He did a few times.
Yeah, there is tape.
Yeah,
where
of him
Chase
smacking
Young
him
is getting denied.
So if we can get Andrew Thomas going, and we can get our young, because we have a young line. If we get our young line going. I love Nick Gates. I think Nick Gates is hysterical.
I love Nick Gates as well. He's the only guy I've ever seen pick a fight with Aaron Donald.
He gives no fucks. That is my favorite thing. I love when linemen.
I couldn't even make eye contact with Aaron Donald. I would cry.
He just was ready to fight him, and I think Nick Gates would win because he's crazy. I feel like Aaron Darnold isn't crazy. I feel like he's just a super athletic guy. Nick Gates would fight a bear if you told him to.
And he'd probably think he'd win.
Yeah, if the bear hit Danny Dimes on the shoulder, he's ready to throw his life on the line. He's ready to die for his lineman or his team, and I love it. I love it so much.
And I like Parrott too.
Yeah,
6'7".
He's
this
crazy,
man is
bro.
It's more than a refrigerator. He's like a fridge with a mini fridge on top.
Do me a favor, look up how tall the tallest lineman is on the 49ers. There is a lineman on that team who is massive. He's literally I think the tallest player in the NFL. I think so right now. The guy makes no sense how big he is. And that's what's another thing that's
Mike McGlinchey.
How big is he? How tall?
6'8".
How much weight?
Let me take a look. 310.
And that's probably good weight for somebody who's 6'8". He's probably semi jacked.
No, yeah. Matt Parrott, very similar height, and I assume a similar weight. He looks good too. He just looks like he's built like a normal person.
Have you seen the transformation? Talk about transformations weight wise. You see the transformation of what Daniel Jones looks like this year?
Oh, yeah.
If you look at him...
Now we're talking.
He looks like a beast. I don't know if it was the lighting, but you look at his arms and his legs now compared to...
Preach.
compared to like last year, dude, this guy, I feel like Daniel Jones is ready to fight. He knows that this is his
people
year.
Are laughing at him.
Oh yeah,
he fell down in that Eagles game.
Mm-hmm.
But what they fail to realize is he fell 80 yards down the field. He was rushing 80 yards down the field.
Well,
this man is a gazelle.
Oh yeah. Well, Pat Mahomes even made a comment. He said, "I'd probably trip too."
Yeah, Pat Mahomes can't run that fast. I guarantee it.
Well, the Giants had the fastest quarterback in the NFL.
He had like 3 or 4 20-mile-per-hour plays last year.
No.
That's like as fast as Kyler Murray. That's as fast as Lamar Jackson.
No, faster. They have it on record. He ran in that 80-yard run. He ran. It was like, I don't know if it was 22.7, but Lamar ran like 22.4.
The argument against that is that they know Lamar is going to run and he's twitchy and he's.
I don't give a fuck.
That was a straight shot for Danny Dimes.
Don't give a shit.
They should be running this man 6 times a game.
If anybody talks to me about it, I say we have the fastest quarterback in the NFL. Just want to let you guys know that.
Well,
Daniel Jones is the fastest.
People have to respect it. It has to be respected.
And then he had a sick run against the Eagles.
Oh yeah, then he had the failed run,
him.
and then they played him like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
He ran 140 yards in. They could have an insane triple option with Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, and this kid Kadarius Toney.
And you know what's fucked up is that Galladay.
Yeah, Galladay is a monster. Daniel Jones is
Deep
great
threat.
at throwing the ball deep down the field.
Deep threat.
PFF's #1 deep ball thrower last year was Daniel Jones, and now they have Kenny Galladay, a guy that rips down these 50-50 balls. This offense, the only thing that scares me is we got the clapper calling plays. I'm afraid of Jason Garrett, but if he gets his head on straight and he has guys like also Freddie Kitchens just pitching in some ideas, this offense on paper is very good. Without regarding the offensive line, which we've touched on a little bit, the offense is stacked.
I hate to say it, but the Clapper actually has had, dude. The past 5 years, he had like top 5 defenses or offenses every year.
Oh yeah.
There's hope there.
Offense.
There's hope there.
Yeah, and he all of Zeke's best seasons were under Jason Garrett, so that should make us feel great about Saquon Barkley under Jason Garrett.
And it sucks to know that even if the Giants win the Super Bowl, Daniel Jones will still be known as a shit quarterback. No matter what, people will always hate him. No matter what, it's an Eli Manning situation. Eli could win the Super Bowl 4 times, and they'll say he won't. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Which is why people always are like, when they drafted Saquon, they were like, oh, they should have drafted a quarterback there. But you got to have the right guy with the New York market and the media.
Yeah, of course.
You got to have a guy that's not going to give you any sound bites. You can't have Baker Mayfield in New York.
No.
Baker Mayfield in New York would get shredded, and then he would start going insane because the media's against him and they're against him because he's crazy. It would be
Dude, he gets shredded by Ohio coverage. He gets shredded by Cleveland's coverage. So I don't want to hear that anybody can play in New York. Not everybody can play in New York. There has to be, and people say like
Phil Simms too. Phil Simms was exactly like Eli as well.
Yep, and that's what you have to be in New York. And I don't care what anybody says about why they should have picked Haskins or why they should have picked another quarterback.
We were right there.
Listen. You need somebody like an Eli or a Phil Simms who is so calm under pressure, because if you can't handle the limelight, you are fucked in New York City, because the Jets are not New York's team. Everybody knows when you say you're from New York, what's your favorite, or New York City, because obviously if you say New York, everyone's going to be like, oh, the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills aren't New York. They're New York State, not New York City.
Yeah, fake ass.
New York
fake
City
New York team.
is the Giants. It's not the Jets Stadium. It's Giants Stadium.
It's Giants Town, it's Knicks Town, it's Yankees Town.
Dude,
you have those sad Mets, Nets, Jets that all rhymes.
We rent out, or the Jets rent out the stadium from the Giants. They pay them every week. They're like, all right, here, can we borrow this real quick? Yeah, that's what it is for.
Yeah, it's just little brother talk.
It is, dude. When have you ever heard the Jets in the mix? Every year, it's their year. Every year, it's kind of like the Cowboys.
They went to those consecutive championship games in 2009 and 10 with Mark Sanchez and Rex Ryan.
Think about that. Mark Sanchez was their best quarterback in years. Think about that one. Like
easily their best quarterback since the year 2000. Easily.
Who the fuck, like Mark Sanchez, the man known as Butt Fumble. You know he lived in my town for a little while.
Ooh.
He lived in Bedminster, yeah.
They should put it on a sign. Home
of the Butt Fumble.
Home of the Butt Fumbler.
Dude, that poor man. He could have taken them to the Super Bowl. And
Yeah, at least Daniel Jones doesn't have a moment like that.
yeah, all he did was trip on his own feet. He didn't
Because
have.
he was running like a beautiful gazelle in the
I know.
outback.
And it annoys the shit out of me that people are like, he's a turnover machine. Watch the fucking tape and see how many times he turned over the ball because somebody dropped it or somebody tipped it when it was in their fucking
Mr.
hands.
Easy E over there.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything, but I mean, Evan Ingram, I have faith in you. I do. I have faith that you're going to do great things because you're a good, talented player, but you kind of fucked Daniel Jones' stats last year. You did.
Big time.
Like,
and he gave us an L against the Eagles the first
Oh,
time. That should have been a
my
win
God.
if he just catches it. It's right in your breadbasket,
Dude,
my guy.
We would have beaten the Buccaneers if he didn't drop a few passes.
The Buccaneers game, the
Yeah.
Giants flubbed so much. That's why I feel very good going into 2021 because
I.
so many games last year were right there in the balance.
Yep.
They were right there. We just needed a second corner that could actually, because they were just attacking the guy that wasn't Bradbury last year. They were just throwing it right to Darnay Holmes. And,
Yep. Jabril?
Yeah, right. Jabril. Yeah, he gave up the touchdown in that game against Boston Scott.
Yep.
Bad in coverage right there.
It was, I think
Your Isaac Yadams of the world, people are just throwing right at him.
my favorite pickup of this draft was, is it Aziz? Is that his name?
Yeah, Ojulari.
I love him. I love him so much. I don't care what anybody says. Everyone's like, we should have picked up JOK. Dude, Aziz, we don't need a JOK style player. We need
No,
somebody
he's a
who's-
Giants pass rusher.
Yeah, we need
That's what he
somebody to
is.
get in there and fucking terrorize a quarterback.
Yeah.
And Leonard Williams, I love him too, but just him alone, everyone's going to double team him. Now you can't just double team him. Now you got to watch out for Aziz because he's coming in hard.
And hopefully Dexter Lawrence makes a leap.
I
too,
love Dexter Lawrence.
'cause Dalvin Tomlinson.
It broke my heart. It broke my heart to get rid of him. It broke my heart.
He was a lot of the team. He was a captain on the team.
Yep.
He was a big guy in more ways than one. He was literally a massive guy.
I
too.
wish we could have afforded him. But
Sounds like a Linval Joseph type scenario because he went right to the Vikings as well.
Yep, but we couldn't afford him, and if we did keep him, we wouldn't have gotten Galladay, we wouldn't have gotten Adoree Jackson because we couldn't afford it, and it sucks. But we got to trim up somehow. And you know who I missed that we got rid of? Snacks. I missed Snacks.
He
when
loved
left.
being a Giant.
He did.
When
He
he
loved.
left the Giants, he was still rooting for the Giants.
I hope he retires a Giant. Like when he,
I don't even know. Is he retired?
I don't think so. I thought he just.
Oh, I think he was on the Packers last year.
Yeah, so hopefully when he does retire, he comes back to the Giants and just retires Giant. That man was awesome.
Yeah, he was a great free agency signing.
God, I love football conversations. They get me so excited. I get so excited for the season because it's not too far away.
I know, and then fantasy football starts coming up. You
Oh,
have a
dude,
draft
don't
with the
even. It's too
boys.
stressful. I love fantasy football, but it is so stressful. Every week I'm looking at my phone like crying a little bit. Like what's your buy-in usually for fantasy?
I mean, we keep up in it. This year, I think this league that I've been in for like 8 or 9 years, we're gonna go 200 this year.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah,
12
200.
people.
Dude, it's so frustrating, scary, and nerve-wracking at the same time because you're looking around every week. You're watching games on a Thursday, or no, you're watching games on like a Sunday at 4:30, Jets versus Jaguars, and you're like, okay, who's winning this? A game that you would
You're
never
like,
watch.
I need DJ Chark to get this touchdown.
Like, why would I ever watch a Jets game ever? But you're gonna watch it because you're gonna hope for the best. How do you think this kid's gonna do on the Jets? I think he's gonna be like another.
Oh, Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be another. Not Aaron Donald.
I mean,
Darnold maybe. Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. I could easily see that happening. I don't know why people did not run the pick in for Justin Fields. The Bears eventually did it, but Justin Fields, months before the draft, threw, what was it? Literally 7 touchdowns in the national championship game. Like,
Oh yeah.
like,
He was a beast. He was a beast, bro.
And I get it that Dwayne Haskins just in that same team a couple years before, like he threw 50 touchdowns, won the Heisman, and then got drafted and was terrible. But Justin Fields, like the Bears, I think finally another tortured franchise. I think they got their guy too.
No, the Bears are gonna go 0-17
because we have their pick.
Could you imagine if I've talked to this about my cousin, the cousin I was talking about, who's an Eagles fan, left being an Eagles fan because He's a hardcore animal lover.
Boo.
Well, he was a hardcore animal lover, so he left being an Eagles fan because of the Michael Vick situation. When Michael Vick went there, he was like, "Fuck this organization. I don't deal with it." So he's actually a Chargers fan, and he's not a bandwagoner because he's been a Chargers fan probably since he was like maybe like 10 years old.
Yeah, so we're talking pre-Herbert.
Yeah,
as long as it's pre-Herbert.
Oh, definitely. It was definitely pre-Herbert. He's I think 19 now, so he's been 9 years deep with the Chargers. But the Chargers, I feel bad for them because they finally have a great quarterback. They have a decent team, but you're in the same fucking division as the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? There is
Yeah.
nothing you can do, and the Chiefs just upped their line.
And the Broncos and the Raiders, say what you will about them, but they're never terrible teams.
No,
They'll play you tough. The Raiders always play the Chiefs tough. Those games are always one score.
Yep. Oh shit, man! How long have you been going for?
This clip is 43. I think the first two were around 10.
So we got like 20 total, or we got like 60 total.
We have like, I think, around.
All right, so we can get this wrapped up.
Yeah.
All right, well, dude, these conversations are actually fun.
Episode 11. Brah, brah. This shit's done.
Dude, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Unfortunately, like I said before, my guest couldn't make it. We're going to get him back on at a different time. Next week, we got to find some guests. If anybody else is interested on being on the podcast, hit me up. We could set something up. Yeah, I mean, this was fun. Another solo podcast, and it went really well. I think it started off a little rough because of the shutoffs on the computer, but we rallied, and we got her done there. So, again, thank you guys so much for coming out. I'll see you guys next episode. Peace.